Hello and welcome to the Naked Truth About podcast. I am Danielle Hellebrand, executive coach, keynote speaker and columnist at Better Brains at Work.
And I'm Beverly Wilson Wunsch, professor at the International University of Bad Honnef in Germany.
And we often talked about the need for real and honest conversation about work and life in a community whose members invite, encourage and inspire each other because people need people. And today we have the wonderful opportunity to talk to Pascal Strauss. Pascal, welcome.
Hey ladies, it's good to hear you. And by the way, for the podcast listeners, I'm seeing as well the two beautiful ladies.
Welcome, my friend, welcome. Good to have you.
And we're so excited to have you on our podcast today. There's so much to talk about. And by the way, you were the one that brought Beverly and me together. And all of us are part of a community that wants to share knowledge and learn together. You call it, Pascal, wake up, grow up, show up. And our podcast is all about being of service, and one might call it a hospitality mindset. And we would love you to share with us your journey on a hospitality mindset. So why do you think is this having a hospitality mindset so important? Or otherwise, maybe I'll put it that way, why is it important to bring kind of humanity back to work?
Whoa, starting with a heavy one, that's okay.
That's why we're here.
Thanks for challenging. Well, funny to say, because I was listening to another podcast from Dr. Bruce Lipton some days ago about evolution and how things are repeating and patterns are repeating itself over the last thousands of years, actually. And that also humanity is making actually the same steps as the animal world. When we started to have these tribes and everything, we were close to the sea, and then that was a little bit like the sea animals, and then that we started to go over the land, and then we started to fly like the birds, and the dinosaurs are dying out. That's the big companies that will come also, and that we are going into the mammal phase. And the mammal phase is a little bit like community. Mm-hmm. And that's what I see almost everywhere happening, is that people have the tendency and that urge to create these communities of people where they are seen, where they are heard, where actually a lot of, how can I say this? Yeah, where are like-minded people, actually. Mm-hmm. And that's a little bit like this. I hear that a lot in the different initiatives that I'm in. It's like that the right people are gravitating towards each other.
Exactly.
And that's a little bit what I see, and these communities are building, and there, of course, you are of service to the community. That's then something what is naturally happening. So I see this, which makes me, of course, very optimistic. But still, we're going through a very tough phase. So we still need some patience.
Mm-hmm. Pascal, what moves me every day to action is your ideas of community over competition. As a matter of fact, I remember that was exactly what drew me to you, and continues to move me to tears whenever I think of your ideas about this. Can you comment or elaborate a little bit more on what's your thoughts on this statement, community over competition?
Yeah, well, it's one thing maybe as a first disclaimer is that it's not that we want to get rid of whatever you want to call it, that we want to get rid of all competition, because it's community over competition. Because community is an infinite game. When you look at what Simon Sinek wrote in The Infinite Game, where he compared the finite games and the infinite game, the game theory, mm-hmm. where he was like comparing it to that society and economy is actually an infinite game, but we play it by the rules of a finite game, so that somebody has to be a winner and somebody has to be a loser. A finite game is like soccer, football, whatever sport you're playing, or card games or whatever. And actually, a finite game means that there's a begin and an end. And society and economy doesn't have a begin and an end. Well, maybe it had a begin, but it's going to go on until we go on. this community over competition is competing is good. Huh? You should compete against your own version of yesterday, maybe to become better. You can compete still in sports. That's fantastic. You can compete in becoming a better community. That's great. But it's community over competition. When it is of service of the community, then that's completely okay to be in this competition. But I am tired, to be honest, and I'm now as well some time on this planet. I am tired of this competition of winning and losing. I am tired of it, and it makes so much pain. It creates so much pain and trauma on the planet, and it's already accelerating. And we have to break that circle. And I think that a welcoming, forgiving community of being of service, that's what we need everywhere.
And I think that's why I love our community so much. I think we all live and breathe and talk about that people skills, are the new bottom line. Technical skills have a quite short shelf life, but people skills, human skills, so important. They last forever. And I think also in business, empathy is the most important factor everywhere, but also in business. And I think, as we all said before, if you don't understand people, how can we understand business? And when I hear you talk, Pascal, I can really feel how these zero-sum games drain you. It drains me. And there is no need to play all these zero-sum games. So that's one thing. That's another question. That's one thing that I hear you speak about, draining your soul. Are there other things? And what recharges your soul?
Well, I think that when we start helping each other again, I think that could be a good start. And that would mean that we have to relearn to ask for help. A lot of people don't ask for help. So creating a safe environment for people to grow, which means that also when they struggle, that they can ask for help. And to be honest, I don't know actually anybody when they are being asked to help that they deny this help. But if they are never asked, well, then they are going to go on with maybe their own worldviews or whatever, however you want to call that. So having this safe environment, it starts in the school system where we have to focus on what people do right and not what they do wrong, and helping them to celebrate actually what they are good at. And if they are struggling with the things what they're not good at, well, then we're there to help and not just to judge. This judgment kind of a culture, what we also have, which is emphasized by the internet, by the way, is really something which will go away. I'm quite sure. So we have to go through it, because you see already in the younger generation that they are already a little bit more conscious about these things. Mm-hmm. That's what you can see. So as said, I'm quite aware of that we're going to struggle still, and maybe the generation after us. But I'm really optimistic about where we're going. And what is as well important for me is that we get this judgment, which is a lot of based out of this, that we never learn to cope with fear. That actually that is something which is driving people to actions actually where you don't understand it. And this fear actually that we have to relearn to turn it into a power. And this is why we always say, that turning fear into power, this is where it starts. The fear of not being loved. And there you have it again, the basic human fears that you have. The survival, the fear for not surviving, which is quite basic in the reptile brain. I don't have to explain you that, Daniela. You're the expert in that. And the fear of not being loved, of not being enough, of the emotional part of our brain. And then we have so many learned fears. It goes on, do not this, do not that, that's not your talent, that's not you, that's not here, that's not there. In judging people, there we have to find new ways of coping with each other. I think that's a start. And that we have to start as well with the young people. We have to empower them. And we have to start to implement these things in the work environment. Because the young people, one day or another, they are going to work. So they need to come into an environment where they can bloom, where they can actually grow with the talents and the strengths and the passions that they discovered. So I think that's something what I see. And for me, it gives me a lot of energy to be one of the gardeners, let's say it like this, to be one of the gardeners of creating an environment where the next generation can bloom. And I read once a nice quote is, the one who plants the seed doesn't see the, no, how was it again?
Doesn't see the tree growing. Now you're
Yeah,
planting a tree where
something like this. Yeah,
where our grandchildren can,
or doesn't sit in the shadow,
sit in the
something like
shadow.
this. That was something like this. But yeah, I didn't get it right now. But yeah, that's how it is.
Yeah.
Pascal, I had exactly that question to ask you because I wanted to ask you about your ideas about what do you think we can do as adults, let's say the older generation, what do you think we can do to empower youths to take hold of their life and to
Mhm.
continue on with a more successful future?
Well, you're asking really tough questions.
That's why we wanted to do this podcast,
Yeah,
Pascal.
yeah, that's
No one
great.
gets
That's
away
great.
with easy
That's
questions here.
that's great because once you have to speak about it, it becomes reality. So it
Yes.
becomes more clear, and then that's good. So that's maybe also one thing. We have to talk more with each other. We have to ask more questions instead of.
Hmm.
We need more question marks instead of exclamation points. Maybe that's something. And see yourself as a comma and not a full stop. That's actually from a song. I want to be a comma and not a full stop. I have to
Okay.
look it up again from what song that was. But the thing that I see, what is important for young people is you grow up. When you grow up, you learn a lot from the role models that you have. So unfortunately, the families are not really that big a role model anymore. That was different like 100 years ago, 50 years ago. And I don't say that that was a better time because we're always in a good time. It's always the next step is going to come. But the role models are lacking. In the 80s, you saw the people running around like Madonna, if you remember, dressed up like them and whatsoever, because they came home, the parents, they had to work. So what did they do? They put on MTV, and that's where they got the role models from. So they wanted to be like them, they wanted to dress like them. So we have to be role models, Beverly. That's the part. We have to show that different behavior is possible, that a different, yeah, with each other is possible, and that's a tough job. That's a tough job, and I get that we're all not flawless. Sometimes we struggle, and sometimes we do things that we shouldn't do, and so on and so on. But we have to do our best to be role models for the next generation. That's the part where I really think that's important for us.
And thank you for pointing that out again, Pascal, because in one of our last podcasts, Beverly and I also spoke about that, being a role model. Because if I think back at my time, I was a young woman making a career, then I became a mother. I just survived. I didn't have role models, or I didn't looked for them enough, or whatever. It was in the pre-internet time. I didn't have role models to look, how are they combining family and a career? How are they doing that? Where can I find a community where mothers like me are also struggling? Because I looked around me and I thought, oh, everyone is doing fine. It's just me. So being that role model, I think that's so important, Pascal. So thank you for pointing that out. And being, holding space for the younger generation. I see us also as a kind of an earth keeper. We're earth keepers, keeping the humanity and the love and the togetherness alive. And I think also a role model in a sense of showing the younger people that you can unlearn behavior. And I struggle with that. I'm very much work in progress. But unlearning, these old patterns of white knuckling your way through life, I'm also done with that. What about you, Beverly?
Exactly. I think my sentiments are the same in that at my age, I feel that the most important thing is really just to do the right thing. Just do the right thing. I think that is what is most important.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely.
Pascal, I wanted to ask, what's the most important thing that you have learned in life? I, I'm sure you have learned a lot.
Wow. Well, Beverly, really, that's what's the most. I hope that I'm not done learning and that I can do the same as I think it was Leonardo da Vinci. No, it was Michelangelo who said at the age of 81, he said, "I'm still learning." I hope that I can say the same. But I think I'm a fan of, I think 30 years ago. 30 years ago, I encountered the books from Frank Herbert. And if you read Dune, the Desert Planet, there is one quote in it, and I think in brackets it is something like this: the mysteries of life isn't a problem to be solved; it's a reality to be experienced.
Uh-huh.
And if we go through that, and you put an intention, and you get just out of the way, and you don't try to force something, you don't try to push, you create something that pulls you. When you work with the forces of physics, actually, if you push, you create resistance, and if you pull, you create alignment, and all these kind of things. If you apply, we are part of this nature. We're not the boss. I think we're going to see events more and more in the coming years where we're going to experience that we're not the boss of the planet, and also not of the universe. We're not the masters of the universe. We're part of this thing, of this experience what we have, and I think we are obeying the same laws of physics. And if we apply them, then it's going to be a little bit easier. And we never learn these things. But we come like this and that's the funny part. We are born like this. We're born with the growth mindset. We're born with little kids ask an awful lot of questions. They want to know everything. And then we unlearn them to ask questions because we get annoyed by it, because we don't have the answers. And if life is a journey, well, then every quest starts with a question. That's in the word already. Mm-hmm. So we have to relearn to ask more questions to get away from the judgments, and it makes life even more fun because you start to not take it too serious anymore. Even the serious situations, you're going to find some sense in it.
Mm-hmm. And that's, I think, it's the beautiful thing in our community, that we all have this need, this urge for, that's not only the growth mindset, but also a benefit mindset. You know, I can grow, but we also need this benefit mindset, sharing our knowledge and helping each other along the way. And no, life's not easy. The journey is not easy. And what a big concern I have is the huge number of burnouts, also under young people. So I think another question, Pascal, do you think well-being should be a business goal in companies? Should there be more emphasis on well-being? Because I do think it should be a business goal.
Well, I think it's mandatory. Mm-hmm. It's what if you're going. COVID was a big learning moment. A lot of companies should actually have learned, when we don't have the people that come to work, actually we have nothing.
Yeah.
We have nothing. If the people only do the Zoom calls and the things, there is a part of humanity which gets lost, and people get sick. If that's mental health or physical health, whatever it is, but that's an essential part of life. And if you don't feel good, if you don't feel full of energy, well, then your perception is different.
Oh, yeah.
So in a company where the environment is not good and the people don't feel good because they are stressed the whole time, they have cortisol, the stress hormone, in their body the whole time, well, people don't look for solutions, they look for problems. That's in our nature. If we are stressed, we look for the lion, and we don't look for what we can do. We look for the problem so that we can survive. And that's happening almost everywhere. And also, what also is a big learning point, make wise decisions. And wise, what do I mean with that? I mean, look what happens now on the airports and on the airlines.
Yeah.
They fired everybody. And now they are surprised. Whoa, wait a minute, we have to do the work. So they didn't at all do a wise decision by just firing the people, not caring about them, not taking care of them. And now the business is really struggling again. And it costs, I guess, way more now to cancel thousands of flights than it would have cost to just take care of them a little bit and look out for them and stay connected. And even if you say, hey, we have to lay off, but please stay in range, and we're going to offer you some other benefits, whatever. I don't know. This open, honest communication, like our friend Dr. Elia always said, hot communication, honest, open, and transparent. the hot communication. Yeah, there you see that without the people, it's just not possible. And when we don't focus on the well-being of the people, well, then we have a shitty work environment, and then we're not going to be effective.
Yeah, and I think we should also focus on relational thinking, not just relationship amongst each other, but holding space for each other's otherness, you know. And in our complex world, we need all these different worldviews and thinking and doing it together, which made me think, hearing you speak, Pascal, do you think employees are kind of the new customers in companies?
Well, I don't know if they are the new customers. I think they were that all the time, but they
Yes,
were
but
not seen like
exactly.
this.
They were not seen exactly.
Yeah, and when you see that, you have to, yeah, just treat each other as a community. A company is a tribe of people. It's a tribe of people that have a common goal, and if they don't have a common goal, well, then good luck with your numbers at the end of the year. You can be way more effective differently. But we're not robots. We need these relationships. We have this emotional brain. We have this, that we need this connection towards each other. We have that in us, and when we're denying it, well, then we deny a big part of ourselves, and then we create this shadow world and all this stupid stuff. And just by talking differently to each other, and there's a nice, I don't know where I got it from. There are two ways of talking to each other, and one is then this violent communication, and the other is a non-violent communication.
Yeah.
And we never learn non-violent communication. And what, as an example, somebody in the company, and maybe I'm the supervisor, and I see that the numbers go down of that person. Well, one way is to call him in and say, hey, I see that your numbers are going down 3 quarters in a row. If that goes on 1 quarter, I have to lay you off. I have to fire you.
Yeah.
Well, you can also say, I saw that 3 quarters in a row, your numbers go down. Are you okay? What can I do? Because that person apparently did good work up front. And yeah, just denying that human side of us is creating more space for the people that play the finite game, that want to win. And when you want to win, you have a lot of waste. And it's not only that we put waste on the planet, really in reality. So how you say, the plastic waste and all the other stuff and the CO2, we put also a lot of human waste where we treat each other not good. That's also a way of having not a sustainable environment.
You're so right about that. Pascal, do you have a best tip for us for making the world a better place? What would be your best tip for making this world a better place? Because I think we're all in a bit of a quandary as to where is this world going at the moment.
Again, it goes maybe in the direction of the be a role model, but actually, one of the tools, when we work with trainers and we try to help trainers and coaches become a better trainer and coach, one of the guidelines that we have is use the tools you teach. So don't be a do as I say, don't do as I do. So that kind of spirit. And I think Jordan Peterson, although he's quite controversial, but he says a lot of good stuff.
Yep,
And all based on science. Actually, you just have to listen to him very closely because he's very detailed and nuanced, and he's really intelligent. And one of his rules is make your bed. I think in the 12 rules for life, one of the rules, rule number 6, is make your bed. And what he means with that is before you're going to criticize everybody else. Yeah, in Germany you say do your own front yard. Watch out that you did this. Start with yourself and don't start to complain about others. That victim mindset is not really helping us. This entitlement, and that's not really helping us.
I listened to him also, Pascal. He has a little bit this. Sometimes I think there's a little bit of angriness in his voice, but I think he says a lot of good things, and I like his 12 rules for life. And what he also means with make your bed is keep your own nest clean before you talk about other nests, and also for yourself, for your psyche, for your life. It's so important to keep your nest clean, to take care of your mind, keep it clean, keep your body clean, keep your clothes clean, keep your environment clean, because then you can think clearly. And by keeping it clean, you have attention for your mind, for your body, for your surroundings. So you are mindful. And if you do that, you are also mindful to the people around you, and you have the space in your mind to help others, because if you are cluttered, there is no space to help declutter
Yeah.
other people's life as a coach or whatever.
Yeah, or as a role model.
As a
If
role
you,
model.
whatever it is, you cannot just say one thing and then do another thing behind, and people are going to see it.
Yeah.
Well, and then you have actually a lot done wrong, because they're going to say, well, if you can do that, I can do that.
That's
I have the
right.
right to do that. And then you start this chain reaction of stupidity, maybe with the best intention. One of our teachers, Peggy Dillon, had a quote, and I translated that into a equation, which is when you want to have a certain result, so result equals intention and focus and energy. So you have to have these three quarters: intention, focus, and energy, where you have to be positive about. So if you have a positive intention, but you focus on yourself only and not about everybody else, or you focus on what can go wrong, that will you have as a result. And if you have a negative energy because you're not looking out for your body and your spirit and your, what you just said, mindfulness, when you have that negative, well, then it has a negative influence on the result. And you have to watch out that you have a good intention, you focus on what you can do, on the positive, on your strengths, and actually on the things that can go right. And with a positive energy, well, then you have a positive result. Maybe that's the tip, Beverly.
Makes sense.
These three parts, and then you will get a positive result.
Yeah, and I think the three of us and also our producer Stefan, we will be joining a very special conference next Tuesday. We all will be there. Maybe you can say a few words about that, Pascal, what our intention and what we want to do there, our energy. What do we want to accomplish with the Happiness at Work conference in Antwerpen? That's what I'm talking about.
Well, it's nice that you mention it. It's going to be the biggest Happiness at Work conference so far, not only for Antwerp, but I think as well for the world. And I was involved like just when COVID hit, and the two founders, Jim Lippens and Asha Lalai, they were like, yeah, looking for people that can help them through the crisis. And we were sitting in my backyard, and we were thinking about how to improve that. And we had then an approach which came with also translating the knowledge that people will bring to the conference. The Tal Ben Shahars, for example, and the doctor of happiness, but also other people that are going to be involved, that we bring them to one, like a big community meeting where we can inspire each other and we can learn from the people that that dedicated their life to this topic, that we can listen to them, learn from them, and then start to apply it in the different companies, because people feel like they work like 8 hours, 10 hours per day in the workplace. So it's a good half of the day when they are awake, over half of the day that they are in a work environment. So actually we should help them to create a work environment which is based, or which at least has one of the topics as happiness, to make the people happy. And that's the conference about. And we're going to have also visitors from all over the planet, because now you can stream it and so on. And we're going to grow over the next years, over and over again, because it's a big field.
In a chaotic world, Pascal, how do you find calm?
Well, that's one thing what we train the people. The chaos is mandatory in the universe, I guess. And being able to, so there are some traits where you have to focus, or you have to, what you have to learn, that's trusting and accepting and receiving, all these kind of things which are more passive. But what you can do active to put you in a state like this, that's what we train the people when they get afraid of, when we do a fire walk, walking over fire. It's not about the physical. It's actually that you are afraid and you cannot help it because it's still hot. It's not about what people do with it. It's really just turning fear into power. And what we teach the people there is to breathe, but consciously. And we don't do that enough. You can breathe to survive, and that's what we do every day. But you can also breathe to thrive. And that's what people know. Beverly, you just come from church, right? That's
That's
well,
right.
when people pray and when people are in prayers, they have a different breathing rhythm. It's like a meditation kind of a thing. When they sing, you have a different breathing rhythm. Unconsciously, I guess we did that for hundreds of years, correct? And we just have to focus a little bit on this. I think when you focus on your breathing, you can be way more calm, and then you're going to also perceive the world not so chaotic at all, or if even if it's chaotic, you're going to see that it's not so bad.
Okay. Okay.
And Pascal, what is a naked truth that you want to share with us that nobody else knows, but
That
you can
nobody.
share with your two dear friends?
Well,
It's just us, you know.
yeah,
You
yeah,
can
yeah.
tell us.
Well, I'm quite open and honest about myself always. Not I can even let the word "quiet" out. So I learned very early actually that it's okay to be vulnerable, and that actually that's a strength. What is a naked truth about me? Well, maybe I can say it like this: a lot of people that we work with and that see me, they only see a part, and they are not that very often seeing also the struggling part, the part when it all becomes heavy, and when also I am doubting. So everybody has that, and you
Yeah.
can have all the knowledge in the world. You're going to have these moments of darkness. Let's call it like this. But the question is, can you shine a light in that darkness or not? And that's for me the same. The question marks and this basic fear is maybe this unknown. This okay. What's the next step? What is the right next step? And so on and so on and so on. To persist, so that you're able to persist. And that's when I count on the community.
Mm-hmm.
This is when the circle gets full, when it becomes full circle. When I have then people where I can then say, well, it's going to take another day or another week, and people have compassion for that.
Yeah.
Right.
People have compassion for it, and I know that it's okay to struggle. And that's why I'm happy to have people around me like you too as well, where when I know that if I'm asking for help, that I will get it.
Right.
That gives me a lot of confidence. So the naked truth is I'm struggling as well, or struggling. I don't know if that's the right word, but I have hard times as well, like everybody else. And surround yourself. I learned something from Tony Robbins 25 years ago: is choose your peers wisely.
Yeah.
Choose your
Because you
peers wisely.
become the people you surround yourself with.
Absolutely.
So choose wisely. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Thank you for sharing that vulnerable truth, Pascal. Thank you so much. Because as I think I told you once, when I see you do your work and talk to you, I think you always are, centered. You always have everything under control, and my nervous system slows down when I'm in interaction with you. I think Pascal is there. His life is under control. That energy swaps
Nothing can
over
go
to me.
wrong.
Nothing can go wrong. So thank you so much for sharing that. And I think, yeah, the same with Beverly. If the shit hits the fan, just a quick note to Beverly, and everything is kind of fine again.
yeah.
So Pascal
Well,
and Beverly, thank you so much for this wonderful conversation, and to all the listeners, We invite you to join us as we explore our own and other people's life and work stories. And we will still talk to a variety of people with all kinds of backgrounds because, as you heard today, we have tons and lots of knowledge to share. So let us learn out loud together and explore how we can better interact with each other in our private life and in our work life. And let's nurture our souls. So tune in with us and with all the other fellow travelers on this journey called life. And thank you all for listening. Have a good week and be kind. The world needs a hospitality mindset.
And that is the naked truth.